image, a mirror in his reflection. Black and beautiful, my shortcomings, this is perfections. Addicted to this pour you on Memphis while they toy you. On the clouds, I'm in crave. Homage to my people who fight to be equal.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to the Color of Beautiful Colorism Conversations. I'm Dr. Karen Moore, founder of I Am the Color of Beautiful Global Spoken Word Initiative and Movement, where we are redefining the standard of beauty for women of color, and our focus is on eradicating colorism in communities of color across the globe. I'm so glad that you've joined me today. Please invite others to the conversation if you are here, and let us know where you're tuning in from. And those of you who will watch the replay, we welcome you and we encourage your participation in the conversation in the chat. If you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to put them in the chat. And we certainly welcome you to today's conversation, which is we're having a discussion on the racial bias in retail study that was commissioned by Sephora. And it's a very interesting study. And if you have the opportunity to look it up and really read it in depth, I really would recommend that you do it. The Sephora Commission study was conducted over a year-long period, beginning in the fall of 2019 and ending in late 2020, included both primary and secondary research. So there's really a lot of information in this study, and we're going to have a discussion about some key points in the study today. And so I'm going to bring on my co-host, who I'm so glad she comes with me every Sunday, my sister, Renee Moore. Hey, beautiful.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. It's a very interesting conversation to have, and we will both have the opportunity to share our own experiences of what we have encountered in retail when we've gone into certain stores and things that have happened to us. So we're going to start with the idea that the study says that racially biased and exclusionary treatment affects the shopper journey in two distinct ways. Number one is an invisible tax or experience burden for select demographics in which retail shoppers are unable to find products they need, have fewer options to choose from, or products are segregated or difficult to access, and they have difficulty getting assistance, experience long wait times, or are treated differently. So, I think that that's very interesting because now this study ended in 2020. And I'm not. I think it depends upon what kind of products you're looking for and your ability to find them. Now, however, though, I will say that a lot of times the black hair care products are located somewhere way in the back of all of the hair care products. The black hair care products can sometimes be all the way in the back, but they usually are, at least I have found they usually are grouped together.
True, which but there may not be as much of a variety as there are for other type of products as well, too.
That's true. That's true. Though now, the other issue though too is that a lot of hair care products, many of them are not necessarily black owned or black hair care products. Designs, well, I shouldn't say black hair care products. They are not black companies. The black companies that have produced hair care products specifically for our hair. Hey, cousin, specifically for our hair may not necessarily be. I mean, you will find some things that are geared towards us, but they may not necessarily be black owned and they may not necessarily really be what's best for our hair,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
So the other thing was number 2 was a pattern of exclusion and inequality via policies that create unequal experiences across demographics in which retail shoppers are categorized as less desirable than others. For example, black shoppers being treated as suspicious and subject to additional surveillance while in the store. I've experienced that. I've experienced being watched in the store.
I have to. And
Yeah.
it's
And I really was not at all um I really was not at all happy about it. And we're going to talk a little later about that experience and addressing that particular experience and how many times we address it because of how we have been treated or what we feel is really a proper way to address it.
right. And not only being followed in the store, but being told when you ask to see something, if it's behind if it's in glass or if it's behind the counter, not being allowed to see it, but being told it's expensive, as if to say, you can't afford what you're looking for in this store. So I've had that happen to me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So number 1, there's 5 truths about bias and Black and Indigenous people of color shoppers across the U.S. retail industry uncovered by the study. So number 1 is limited racial diversity across marketing, merchandise, and retail employees results in exclusionary treatment before shoppers even enter a store and continues across their in-store journey. So if you don't see yourself in the advertising and you're not seeing yourself in the merchandising that is in store,
Mm-hmm.
already you start off kind of not expecting to have really a great experience because you haven't even seen yourself in relation to that product in the marketing and the advertising and in the merchandising.
Right.
So you're already starting off as, well, this is not really going to be a great experience for me. So 3 in 4 retail shoppers, 74%, feel that marketing fails to showcase a diverse range of skin tones,
Mm-hmm.
body types, and hair textures. This is true across all categories, but especially for department stores, 72%, beauty, 70%, apparel, 68%, and mass merchants, 67%. And when you start talking about body type, because I know, because we are biological sisters, we are somewhat built the same, and we've always had the smaller waist, bigger hips.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't see that a whole lot in advertising, where you see a woman who's built like us and we want to go in and we want to find clothing or we want to find a pair of jeans, which I still have yet to find a pair of jeans that really fit me right now. I'm almost 60 years old and still. But too, that could be because I don't want to pay a whole lot of money either, but that's a whole nother story. But to
But
be able to
sometimes it's
really
not.
find the kind of jeans that I want, or the kind of whatever it is that I'm searching for, not seeing myself in the advertisement makes me begin to think that, okay, well, maybe that product is not for me.
Or you have to um, go to exclusively to the stores that cater simply to someone who is your size. So, for instance, which sometimes they have a lesser variety or they're not as big. So, there are certain stores you go in and you know that they don't have anything bigger than a size 12, you know? And if they do, then the bigger the size, the smaller the variety, the smaller the
Yeah,
options. Um, and
that's true.
so, and when you get these, and like you say, when you see the advertisements and the circulars and all of that, those women are size 5, you know, maybe a size, maybe an 8 once in a while, but
Right.
in reality,
Unless you specifically are looking at a Ashley Stewart catalog or a Lane Bryant catalog,
right, which is
then
stores,
you
and
might
even
see.
then, when you're looking at those catalogs, I mean, I don't do a whole lot of shopping per se. So, are we being represented? Because even we're just a lot of times we're just built differently.
Yes.
So, even if I'm a size 16 and someone of a different race is a size 16, that may be a whole different reason why we're 16s. Mine may be because of hips, there may be because of stomach, So if we're not even seeing ourselves represented across the diaspora of, because not all of us are size 16, some of us are size 2s, but it's just not seeing us represented across the range.
Right. Right. So in this study, they also give a retail opportunity. This is what retail has the opportunity to do. And let's also say that this a lot of this has come about because of Black Lives Matter and companies getting on that Black Lives Matter bandwagon. But what have they done? So we're going to talk some about that also. They get on the Black Lives Matter bandwagon after the murder of George Floyd, because it was a murder. After the murder of George Floyd, they got on the Black Lives Matter bandwagon to say Black Lives Matter to us, and all of these other things they said. But have they really stepped up
Mm.
to really make changes in the retail experience? Because to say it just to continue to get us to spend our dollars
Mhm.
is one thing, but actually putting things into place to make sure that you do really care about your Black customers is
Mhm.
another thing.
That's true. Because, they said in that study that 53% of Blacks had higher rates of, felt they experienced higher rates of unfair treatment and bias that was based on their race or skin color as compared to 24% of whites. So
Right.
almost half of, and I think it was 36% of Latinx and 35% of Asians. So you've got this high number of people of color who are just experiencing these um, poor encounters
Right.
based solely on race and uh, skin color. So, and 40% um, experienced unfair treatment personally. So it's just, what, like you say, what are they doing? You've said you want to do something.
Mhm.
So what is it that you're going to do? You've changed your, you've put out these ideas that we're going to, do 40, we're going to have 15% of this and 20% of that, and we're going to,
Right. Right.
have diversity training and all that stuff. But that was at the height of it. we
Exactly.
we need to ensure that you are doing what you said you're going to do and sticking with it.
Right. Exactly. And so this person says, you have to allow Restream to let us see your name. But this Facebook user said it was a way for them to get eyes on their business. That's it. And that's what it was for a lot of them.
Yeah.
It was a way, okay, we're going to get on the Black Lives Matter bandwagon because, you know, we're going to let everybody know that we care about Black lives. But then what did you do?
But do you
The
care?
regional opportunity for this first one is that focus on representation and diversity across marketing and product that addresses the unique needs of all racial groups, as these are some of the biggest visual cues for shoppers that signal diversity and inclusion. And that's a really big thing. If we don't see ourselves, then, as far as we're concerned, you haven't acknowledged us.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you say, it's not a one-time thing. I think, if you look at the study, they show how certain companies on Instagram spiked with, diversity in color and having darker skinned people in their ads, and how it started to taper off as time goes on.
Right.
So, we need to really be holding these people accountable and saying, hey, you said, you were going to do this and you did it for 2 months. But, here we are a year later and we're getting ready to come back into your stores. We may still be shopping with you online. Can we trust that you really was it about our lives mattering or our dollars mattering?
And it is about our dollars matter. It really is. And we've got to be willing to say, okay, you haven't done what you said you were going to do. You have not really changed. I'm still not seeing myself in your marketing. So I'm not going to buy your product until you do it. Because again, and I constantly say this, that if we could truly understand our $4.2 trillion spending power that we have as a people, $4.2 trillion. If we could really understand that and begin to hold back our dollars on some of these things, that's the only way we're going to see change.
That's true.
They're not doing it because they care about Black people. They're not doing it for that. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that across the board. I don't want to make that blanket statement across the board, but I think the reality is that we've got to be willing to say, we don't see you making these changes, so we're going to start holding back our dollars.
Yeah. And that's the thing. And when they, I think you had a marketing person on who was talking about that. When you do see them doing good, when you do see them making the changes that they say, let them know we see you, we appreciate you, we support you, and we thank you for making those changes that you need to make. And those who aren't, hold their feet to the fire.
Exactly. And even, the other thing is, which is a whole nother conversation, but I just want to put out there too that a lot of times the marketing to the demographic is not marketing to women who are in their 50s and 60s and 70s. The only thing we get marketing for is AARP and Medicare. We don't see a whole lot of marketing with our segment of the population. Everything is young girls. You see a lot of young people, a lot of millennials, and whichever the other generation is, but you don't see a whole lot of marketing towards women who are, okay, we'll use the term mature if that's what we need to say.
Baby boomers. Yes.
Thank you. Baby boomers. We don't see a whole lot of marketing for baby boomers that is really geared towards getting us to be part of the marketing equation. We don't see a whole lot of it, like I say, unless it's Medicare or AARP.
Or drugs of some kind. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, because you're hurting. Right.
Sure.
Those are the commercials that we get. We don't get the commercials about,
But I don't think that in general advertising, I think that most people feel that the majority of the spending is going to come from a younger group of people. So that's who they target.
But I don't think that's true.
Well, I mean, I don't know, because you may be spending the money on your child. So if you can get that child to say, this is what I want,
Yeah, but who's spending the money?
it doesn't matter,
But the
because
millennials have their own money. I'm not spending money on millennials. I'm still spending money on me, but you're not really including me in your marketing as to, I like to buy shoes, I like to buy clothes, I like to buy makeup, but you're not including me in any of that advertising and marketing.
That's true. That's
Because
very
we still are alive. I know people think we're out to the pasture and stuff now, but we
yeah.
still are alive. We still are working. We still are doing our businesses. We still are in the marketplace, but it's just that the marketing it's just not geared towards us
No, it's
at
not.
all.
But I guess you have to tackle one problem at a time. It's kind of like, can we be diverse first?
Yeah,
And
but your diversity needs to include
diversity needs to include.
age,
That's true.
right? Okay, so number 2, U.S. Black, Indigenous, people of color shoppers feel in-store interactions are driven by their skin color and ethnicity. Yet, this was
Mm,
very interesting to me.
this is
Retail employees cite behavioral attributes rather than appearance as the basis for their interactions. Despite the experiences retail shoppers report, 3 in 5, 60% retail employees surveyed more often cite shoppers' behavioral attributes rather than physical attributes when determining how to approach or interact with shoppers, underscoring significant disconnects between how shoppers and employees interpret interaction in U.S. retail. So this was kind of interesting to me because I wasn't really quite clear on the behavioral attributes. So
so.
are you determining, is it preconceived in your mind what my behavioral attribute is, or are you saying that based on how I'm actually behaving comes as an issue when a retail employee is connecting with me as a customer? Because if I'm asking you, and listen, we get poor service everywhere. Some places you get good service and you get bad service. I think that it depends on the employee and it depends on the person themselves, because you get nice people in stores and you get not so nice people in stores. And I understand that employees also have to interact with the nice customers and the not so nice customers. So when you're talking about behavioral attributes, though, my question becomes, as an employee, if you are approaching me as a customer, do you have a preconceived notion in your mind about what my behavioral attribute is? Or are you really interacting with me going to try to discover what my behavioral attribute is?
Well, I think there's several things to that. One, I think that um, some people are being disingenuous when they say it's a behavioral attribute, because I think that they don't want to be seen as racist. If they're called on it, then they're saying, "Oh, it had nothing to do with the skin color. It was the way they were acting." So I think some people are being truly disingenuous when they say it had nothing to do with the person's race or skin tone. The second thing is, I think that some people don't even cognitively recognize that that played a role in their decision.
Mm.
Um, because, I mean, so what kind of behavior is it that makes me appear to be a problem? Because I'm walking around the store looking at different items? Is that suspicious activity? Is it suspicious activity because what? I'm talking loudly? So I think that if people are truly honest with themselves, that you can't tell me that a black person walks in a store and a white person walks in a store, and that if they act the exact same way, if you don't have some kind of preconceived bias already about, and we've talked about this, what exactly is acting black, you know?
Hmm.
So if you don't already have some kind of preconceived notion about how they're going to act, that if we do the exact same things, what makes my behavior suspicious? It's an
Right.
underlying bias that you don't even recognize you have, that has already clicked in and automatically made that determination that everything that I do is suspicious. And that's
Right.
just my personal opinion. I don't know. Maybe,
Right.
you would have
And
to.
I think too that, like I say, it's the, and you said it's that preconceived notion of, if I go to an employee and I say, I need some help, whatever, whatever, and you've already decided that because I'm a black woman that I'm going to be difficult because that's what your preconceived notion, and this is not just a black white thing.
Right, that's
This
true.
is even sometimes a black thing.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes we as black women also have this whole idea about what another black woman is going to, how she's going to be,
Yes.
and even when, you know which we talked about some last week, even about, how we voice our concerns, or if we have a problem, that we have to go through this whole thing about, okay, I can't come across as the angry black woman. I can't, so it's this whole thing about, okay, when you see me, and before I've even opened your mouth, what is your idea of how I'm going to be? And this is why we have to have conversations. And we cannot assume that because somebody is black, or because they're dark skinned, or because they're light skinned, that they have that they have a certain behavior that you're expecting to see because of that.
And not only that, I think we talked about too is I shouldn't feel that I have to go dressed practically in my Sunday best to go shopping so that I can be treated somewhat decently.
Right.
If I'm out and I have on my sweats and my sneakers, and I should be able to go in a store and not be seen as suspicious, not be seen as not having enough money to be in here.
Right.
I
Right.
shouldn't have to go in a store. I should be able to take my oversized person and not be made to feel like, oh, I can't take this in the store because people are going to think I'm stealing, you know, or
Yeah.
you know, there have been times when I've purchased an item in a store and I got to the checkout and I realized, oh, I didn't go get so and so. So now my dilemma is, do I go back in the store with this bag,
No.
or do I go back to the car?
You go to the
And,
car.
and I shouldn't have to go through all that.
Yeah. Well.
But that's the kind of things that we have to deal with. Am I going
Yes.
to be looked at differently than somebody else who walks in here with a shopping bag from? I don't even take bags from another store in a store if I can
No.
avoid it.
Mm-mm. Even in my pocketbook, if I have bought something that fits in my pocketbook, like if I buy a lipstick or something and I'm getting ready to go into another store, I leave it in the car.
Yeah.
I do not take, I do not, what's in my pocketbook, I don't have anything in my pocketbook that's new or
Yeah.
looks like it could even be new,
Yeah.
because just in case, I don't want to have any problems. So someone asked, do you think it matters on what is going on with an individual personally, either the customer or the employee?
I think it probably does.
It
I think
does.
that a lot of times we, as Black people or people of color, can be very super sensitive to things. And I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say super sensitive, but we are more likely to be offended by something that may have been somewhat based on that other person's previous experiences.
Right. And
And so,
I have said this many, many times, that your encounter with someone, it really could be, not everything is racism.
True.
And some things that we call racism, you know, I mean, if somebody comes off to me negatively, if it's someone who is of another race, or, I've said it, if a light-skinned woman comes off to me a certain way, it does not mean she's coming off to me because I'm darker skinned. Deeply melanated is my term now. It's not that she's doing that because I'm deeply melanated. She might be just having a tough day.
True.
She might just be having a day. And it's not that she, intentionally did that because I'm, I'm a different shade than she is. Or if a white person speaks to me and says, now, if you use the N word with me, you're racist.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if you have not connected with me, in a way that I thought was endearing, or however you want to put it, it does not necessarily mean that you are racist. It could be that you're having a difficult day. And many times we have to exercise some grace and some mercy with people. Now, if the behavior is a continual thing and every time I connect with you, we have a problem, then that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
But, sometimes people are just having difficult days, and we need to be compassionate and understand that, it might just be a difficult day. Now, on the other side of that, though, and this is more easily said than done. You're not supposed to carry that into your workplace.
It's true.
Now, like I say, again, that's more easily said than done because, if some people had to go to work under extreme circumstances,
Yeah.
some people don't get to take 3 or 4 days off because they've lost a loved one.
Mm.
And if you're trying not to lose a job and you've lost a loved one and you have to show up that next day, because sometimes it takes more than 3 or 4 days to recuperate from a loss.
That's true.
But you got to go back to work. That is, it's easier said than done not to carry that with you. So we need to exercise some grace and some mercy a lot of times, because you don't know what someone is going through or what their experience has been. We talk about the working homeless.
Mm.
Okay. We talk about the working homeless. Some people not sure where they're going to sleep tonight, but they're at work. Don't know where they're going to sleep tonight.
That's true. But at the same time, um,
That's true too.
when you're and a lot, let me change that. So then too, there are those people who don't normally, for some reason, have never really had come in contact with other people from other races. And all they know is what they see on television, in the media,
Yeah.
And it's not always a positive portrayal.
That's true.
And it's based on fear, because if you're not used to being around people of a certain race and all you see about them is negativity, which has to do with our media,
Mm.
then you're fearful.
Right. Right.
And you need to be educated.
Yeah.
Now, however, in my opinion, that is the job of the employer, to do that diversity training, to say, you know what, this is how we expect you to treat all of our customers.
Right.
And these are the things that you need to be aware of, and you need to really dig deep and think about before you approach a customer.
Right. Right.
You
So
know?
someone else says too that it may have originated in the workplace also,
True.
which is very, very true.
True, because
Sometimes what happens, because this is the thing I said to my husband when he was in the hospital, and he said to me, he said, all the black nurses, he said, not all of them, but he said, a lot of the black nurses don't seem to be as friendly as. I said, babe, they got a whole nother thing going on. Okay. Being black nurses in here, I told them they got a whole nother situation going on, babe. So cut them a little slack.
And that was
You know,
one of
they're not
the
going to come in all, like the other nurses. The sister trying to keep her head above water. She trying to, it's a whole nother thing going on with the Black nurses.
and then the article did talk about how the employees of retailers have experienced
Yes.
discrimination and bias based on um, from their employers
Yes.
or even from customers.
Right. Right.
So it goes both ways. A customer comes in and doesn't want to deal with you because you're of a certain race or a certain color. They'd rather deal with somebody else.
Exactly. So the
So
retail opportunity for number 2 was implement employee training specific to unconscious bias. You talked about that. Racial profiling and anti-racism. Remove policies and practices that disparage shoppers, such as using code words to classify Black shoppers or using seemingly race-neutral or colorblind logic to guide interactions with shoppers who have unique needs. That's interesting to me. Code words for Black shoppers. Yeah. So number 3 is U.S. Black and Indigenous people of color shoppers use coping mechanisms to minimize or avoid anticipated biased experiences when in store. While many customer experiences needs are universal, people of color shoppers have some needs that hold greater importance in helping them feel welcome. Unfair treatment most often occurs when retail shoppers are browsing. In fact, among retail shoppers who have experienced mistreatment in store, they're 3 times more likely to say it happened while they were browsing than at checkout, 38% versus 12%.
Yeah.
So we were kind of just talking about that, just looking around and trying to be more intentional, just going in a store, which we have a right to go in a store and just look.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not buying. Maybe I'm just window shopping, but I'm window shopping. I decided to go inside the store.
Yeah. And sometimes it's interesting because, like I say, sometimes you wonder if it's, you try to be, what's the word I want? Not to think the worst of people.
Right.
But, and I just remember this. I think you and I went into a mall in Jersey. We had been recommended to the store by someone in the church. And we went there and we're looking at the things and a white lady comes over and she's, talking. So we were just browsing and she's talking to us and we're like, okay. And she stood there and she kept talking. And there were other customers in the store. So I'm trying to figure out, are you talking because you're friendly? Or are you talking because you want to watch me and you don't want it to appear that you're watching me? So, you have these, and you become almost uncomfortable just browsing. I don't have to buy what's in your store. If you don't have what I want, I
Right.
should be able to come in there. I should be able to look. I should be able to try on things if I want to try them on, and not feel that I'm being watched.
Exactly. So one of the things that it said that now what has happened is that we'll shop online to avoid the interaction altogether, thereby removing the burden of unfair treatment. Don't try samples and may even leave purses and bags at home to prevent accusations of theft. We talked about that, leave it in the car.
Yep.
Adjust their body language, such as keeping their hands out of their pockets or avoid browsing altogether.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the dress nicely thing.
Yeah.
Make a shopping plan to ensure their time in store is efficient with minimal employee interactions, or interact with employees to make it known they are interested in spending money. But I might not want to spend money. I shouldn't have to do all that.
Yeah.
Because I may really just be looking, which I have a right to do.
You do.
So I really liked this retail opportunity that they said, create a universal welcome system that is sensitive to the needs of all shoppers and makes the store feel like a welcome place upon entry. So greeting people and welcoming them in just like you would your home
Mm.
can make people feel more comfortable and more at ease
Right.
to have that whole welcoming experience.
Right. Especially if you're doing it for everybody. If you say
Everybody.
hello to everybody, then I'm more comfortable if you specifically pick out certain people to say hello to.
Right. Right. And then some people don't really necessarily like that though. Some people like, look, I just came in the store. I don't need you to help me or do anything. So, sometimes it's that whole, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Well, I don't
But
know.
still nonetheless, if you just say hi, welcome to Karen's boutique. If you need anything, let me know.
Yeah,
I think that's reasonable.
I think so. I think so. I think you skipped number two, by the way. So if you want to go
No,
back,
I didn't.
you
We
skipped.
talked about it.
We talked about number two.
Mhm.
Okay.
I think we did.
The associates being like them.
Say that again.
Associates being like the people.
I don't know. Well, we'll talk about it real quick again. I don't know. This was a U.S. people of color shoppers feel in-store actions are driven by their skin color and ethnicity. That's the one you're talking about?
Now, number two, the racial bias and unfair treatment, inability to receive help from store associates who are like them. Truth number two.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we talked about that. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to number 4. Okay.
Okay.
The majority of U.S. Black and Indigenous people of color shoppers do not voice concerns about negative shopping experiences directly to retailers, creating missed opportunities for feedback and improvement and impacting future sales as shoppers take their business elsewhere. The study's findings indicate that when retail shoppers experience bias, most avoid conflict and stress in the moment. As such, only 3 in 10, 30% retail shoppers reacted actively to unfair treatment as means of providing feedback to the retailer, like publishing an online review or posting on social media detailing their experience. So, most of the time, I go right for it right there. That's just me. Now, there have been times where I have waited until I got home because my experience in certain stores, we will not name names, was that when I asked to see the store manager was never available. Excuse me. So I knew that if I go home, if I go home and call, I'm more likely to get the store manager.
Mm. So I can say that I have called store managers before. It was a department store, and I was made to wait. The service people were chit chatting, and it was a behind what I wanted was behind a counter, and they were just chit chatting, and um, a white woman walked up, and they were immediately willing to help her, and she even said she was here first. And I said, the lady came over, and she kind of had an attitude, and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, what's your name?" And she told me her name. I said, "Okay, thank you. I'll be calling your manager because I've been standing here for 10 minutes waiting for you to acknowledge me. And I don't appreciate it." So I not only addressed it with them, I then went home and called management. Um, and sometimes I won't call management, but I have addressed it there too. Like the lady that told me something I wanted to see in a counter, and she told me it's expensive. And I said to her, "I didn't ask you how much it costs. I asked you to let me see it." And she kind of had an attitude, and she pulled it out. And I think I made her pull out 3 or 4 different things. And I pulled out my credit card, my American Express card, and I said, "You know what? I don't like your attitude. I don't think I'll be buying that today." But, this all goes to, should we have to go through all that? Because in the end, those things start to, it's just a stressful experience that just adds to the layers and layers and layers of microaggressions and aggravations that we have to deal with.
But I think that we still have to address it.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is really important that we address it and not just resort to not saying anything or just going somewhere else, or, deciding that we're going to shop online, we need to address it.
Okay.
And, it's amazing too, because at the same time as I will voice a complaint, I will also let a manager know when I've had really great service.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, really great service, so that, it's not just a matter of always, complaining or whatever. But at the same time, because I called up a car repair place. It's a pretty big name. And I called them because it had been a long period of time had passed where they hadn't called me and told me my car was ready. So I called to find out, and the guy's like, "Oh, your car has been ready." I said, "Well, how come nobody called me?" So I called the manager and I said, and here's what I said to him. I said, "I should not have to go outside of my neighborhood to get good service."
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I shouldn't have to. We're in Philadelphia. I shouldn't have to go to Jenkintown or Abington or Cherry Hill or wherever to get decent service. I should be able in my own neighborhood to get good service. And he said to me, "You're absolutely right. We will bring your car to you."
Mm-hmm.
But if I had just been upset and not said anything, then the issue doesn't get addressed. It doesn't get resolved.
That's true.
I said whenever we have great service in a restaurant, I will let the manager know, and I'll say to the waitress or the waiter, "Can I see your manager, please?" They always get a little nervous. "Is everything okay?" "Everything's fine." And I'll tell the manager, "We had really great service. This person was really, really great."
Yeah, we had great service in the store the other day, and I don't know if either one of us ever remembered to call, but you were looking
Yeah,
for
she was great in a store that normally.
just. So I don't know if we ever remembered to call. I don't know if you have her name or remember her name or not, but it was
And I
phenomenal.
did forget to call.
Yeah, and it was phenomenal. I mean, so and once again, that goes to letting um, retailers know, you know what, I'm spending my money. If you or your employees have a problem with me because of my race, my color, my size, my age, that you know what, it's going to cause you a problem.
I remember my husband and I went to Fridays, TGI Fridays, and we were going for dinner. We went dinner. It was later or whatever. We were going just to grab something. So we go in, and the gentleman says to us, "Hi, how are you? How many?" We said two. He says, "Okay, you can go sit over there." I was like, "Okay." So when we got to the table, I said to the waiter, I said, "Can we see the manager, please?" So he said, "Sure." So the manager comes over and he says, "How can I help you?" I said, "When we came in, the guy told us we could go sit over here." I said, "When did you stop seating people?" I was like, "When did you stop taking people to?" And he said, "On weeknights after a certain time, because it's slower, we don't seat people." I said, "Oh, okay," because the guy was like, "Go sit. You can go sit over there." I'm thinking,
And so the
what?
I think that's a great example because sometimes it's, you could have taken that as, oh, so you don't want to seat the black people. you know,
It wasn't even so much. I just was.
I'm just saying. So
I was like,
sometimes
but, but
opening,
but but I did check out and see how he did the rest of the people that came through that door. I was watching.
and so see
You
what I'm
can
saying.
believe it because I'm like, you can go sit over there. What?
And so sometimes opening up a dialogue can make you get a better perspective
Right.
on
Which is
what's going on.
exactly, which is why I said, "Can I see the manager?" Because I'm like, when did you stop seating people
Which
when
in,
they come into a restaurant?
which in comparison, I don't know if you remember, we were at a restaurant in Virginia Beach, and we had this great male waiter. I mean, he was just fantastic. And I asked where the ladies' room is, and he said, "I'll take you." And I'm like, that's really not necessary. He's like, "No, we're not allowed to just point things out to people. We have to." I said, "Oh,
Right, because that whole pointing thing is a whole nother. It's a whole nother thing with body language that people don't understand. Oh, it's over there.
And it's so funny because that was the first time I had ever been escorted to the bathroom in a restaurant. I was just like,
Right.
okay.
That's customer service over there.
Yeah, but he was like, I can't just point it out to you. I have to take you over there. Okay. So
Yeah, really, which is that's really premium customer service. I
yeah,
can't just point it out to you. I have to show you
show you where it is.
where it is. And once in a while, you'll get somebody, even in the market, once in a while, you'll get somebody that will actually take you to the aisle where it is.
Yes, yeah.
Instead of just, it's over there on aisle 4 somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. So the retail opportunity for this is create an accurate and accountable tracking system for negative shopping experiences for shoppers with an opportunity for employee inputs.
Hmm.
Provide quick and easy ways for shoppers to provide feedback in real time. This one is really great. Cultivate an exit experience instead of only the greeting upon entrance to ensure that shoppers have an opportunity to discuss their experience in the moment.
Hmm.
That is a really, really, really great idea. Now, of course, that means you got to either shift employees around or pay somebody else, but it's a fabulous idea for retail to do that.
Well,
How was your experience while you were here
well,
today?
and actually, I think some retailers are doing that. Some markets, at least, I don't know about department stores, are doing that when you check out. Did you find everything that you were looking for? You know,
Yeah,
so that kind of is asking you, and
right,
they're not saying, did you have a good experience here? But at least they're asking you, did you find everything that you were looking for? Is there something else we can do for you? So that does kind of, it's being something that's being done across the board. So it doesn't matter who it is that's at the checkout counter, whether you're a person of color or you're not. It's a question that's being asked of everybody,
right,
so that everybody gets the chance to say, you know, this was good, or I had problems here, and somewhere to voice that concern and hopefully have it addressed in the moment, like you say, in the moment when everybody's memories are fresh and everybody is
right,
there, and it can really be talked out.
right, right. So the last one, number 5, meaningful and long-term action is most important to U.S. shoppers and retail employees who want to see the company's words supported by consequential action. They expect retailers to show their commitment to change through new programs, training, and tools designed to address these pervasive issues. For example, 1 in 2, 49% retail shoppers say they only want to see diversity in marketing if the retailer is genuinely committed to serving diverse shoppers.
Okay.
So don't just throw my black face up in there just to throw my black face up in there.
But when I go in your store, I have a whole different experience, because if you advertise showing me that says you're welcoming me, and then if I go in your store and I'm not welcoming your store, then you've perpetrated a fraud, essentially.
Right.
And
And
don't
if you
and I
say you're going to do it, if you say that I'm important to you, then actions speak louder than words.
That's it.
We all know that. Actions speak louder than words. So if you say that I'm important to you, as that my black life matters, then that's what I expect to see when I come into your store or when I shop your brand.
Right. Right.
That's what I look for.
And not only when, like you say, in the store, and the best way to me to get that diversity and to get that commitment is to not only do it in advertising, but to do it in your business itself, in your employees. Make your employees just as diverse as the people you're trying to get into your store. You
Right.
know? And that's from the lowest level to the highest level. To the board, the boardroom needs to be just as diverse
That's right.
as the people who are working on the floor interacting with your
That's
customer.
right. The boardroom, the executive management, all of those people need to be diverse.
That's it.
Because if there's no diversity there, how can you say that my life matters when I don't even see myself on your board of directors or myself in your executive staff?
And now, but you also get so many different. You get a better insight into
Yes.
how things are perceived, because every culture sees things differently. And you get that genuine input of how this action is going to be perceived, or how this ad is going to be perceived, or how the placement of these items is going to be perceived. They
Right.
put input into, okay, well, you might want to stop segregating our stuff over in this little corner here, or you might want to expand this, or you might want to hire some more people so that when I come in the store, I feel that you know it, it it's not that the people there's only a couple stores where I personally feel I really need to see somebody. I would prefer to see somebody of my race, and that's when I'm buying makeup and when I'm buying hair products,
Right.
because I think it's very difficult for other people to understand matching our skin tone. I mean, unless you've been trained in it. Now, if you're trained in it and you're good at it, go for it. But unless you've been specifically trained in how to match our skin tones, how to deal with our hair textures,
Mm-hmm.
then I feel personally far more comfortable going in the store asking, and I don't mean this to be racist, but I do. I feel far more comfortable going in the store and asking a person of color, what product is best for my hair if I'm trying to get my hair to do this, or what foundation is going to be best for me.
I think that's I don't really know well, let me put it this way. I think that we would need to talk to you need to talk to a I don't know that people necessarily who work in a store are necessarily going to know what's really the best product for your hair unless it is specifically a hair store.
Right, that's what I'm talking about. I should specify that. So, you're not going to go in Walmart
Yeah.
and ask a person in Walmart what's the best product for my
Yeah,
hair.
because they're not
Yeah.
going to know.
But I'm talking about if I go into a hair store, or if, at a makeup kind of, like I
And
said,
hopefully in the hair store, they're really knowledgeable about the products because I think too, a lot of times when you start talking about hair, you need to talk to a hair. I don't know if they still call them hairdressers, but you know what I'm saying. You need to talk to somebody who does hair.
right.
If you're, unless you're going into a store that you really know they're knowledgeable about their products, which typically I would think if it's specifically a hair store, I think that they would pretty much be knowledgeable about the products. And that you can go in and you can say, okay, my hair is dry, my hair is curly, my hair is this, my hair is that. What's the best product for me? I think that, yes, if you're going into a black hair care store, few and far between. But if you go into a black hair care store, they probably, yes, will be able to help you. But if you're not going into a black hair care store and you're just going into a store, unless they have somebody black in there who is knowledgeable about the products, you should probably be checking with a hair specialist.
That's true.
You
But
know,
but even with the makeup, like I say,
oh,
and
that's a whole nother story.
I'm not putting anybody down. If you've been trained and and you have worked with people of color, and you understand that some people have red undertones and some people have yellow undertones, and hey, go for it. But if you haven't, then it's and it's just a comfort level that you have.
Yeah, that's true.
you know and I should
It's
be
true.
able to feel that same comfort level in purchasing the item that someone who's not a person of color, who's white, feels in purchasing their items.
Right. So you do have to have that diversity and we have to be really making sure that these companies that said that Black Lives Matter and they came with the Blackout Tuesday and all of that and they came and they said Black Lives Matter and people that black people's money matters, that they really need to be stepping up and continuing to make sure that our retail journey is comparable with other races' retail journey.
And some of them have even made diversity pledges, to
Right.
diversify by a certain amount by a certain time. So we need to be holding them accountable, trying to find
Exactly.
out, how are you in meeting that? Because a lot of times people make promises in the moment.
Yeah.
They get caught up in an atmosphere. They, and then, time has a way of making people forget,
Right.
and we've been almost a year now that we have not been in retail spaces like we were,
Right.
but it looks like we're going to be getting closer to going back to those spaces. So when we go back, we need to be looking for changes. And even prior to going back, we need to be looking for changes in the advertising, in the marketing, um, to see are they doing what they said they would do.
Hey, Cheryl Ann is watching from Ghana.
Oh,
Hey,
hey,
my sister.
Shirley. Hey,
Awesome. Thanks for watching.
what you doing up so late at night?
Oh, yeah, it's late there.
It's midnight. It's midnight.
Thank you so much for watching. So, thank everyone for watching. This was a great conversation to have today about our journey in our customer journey in the retail space, and to make sure that we are holding these companies accountable for what they said they were going to do a year ago. So we need to be following up and making sure that we're holding them accountable. You can, of course, visit us at thecolorofbeautiful.com. Color is spelled COLOUR, because you are beautiful. Thank you so much, beautiful.
Thank you.
It was great having you here. And join tomorrow. We will be back with The Color of Beautiful After Dark at 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, and our Wondrously Made Wednesdays, 2 p.m. on Wednesdays. Everybody have an amazing, amazing rest of your day. Be blessed.